Good evening. This is the king of all mediums, and this is part seven of my deep dive down the Manson rabbit hole. And the title of this episode is Now is the Time for Helter Skelter. And the dates we covered today is August 8th, 1969 to August 10th, 1969. Okay, so August 8th, 1969, Manson arrives back with Stephanie Schramm to Spawn Ranch from San Diego at about 1 p.m. So they bring Stephanie's belongings. She has a dog and a guitar. Now, one thing I failed to mention in a prior episode is that Manson took, when he went up to Big Sur, as I mentioned in part six, uh, he thought he'd get a great reaction, to his guitar playing and his singing. And the people up there, very highbrow, they rejected him really bad and took it very badly. And this could have led to his anger. Everything kind of hit the breaking point. This could have been Manson's breaking point. The rejection at Big Sur. He thought he'd go up there and wow, he'd become an instant star, and it appears that he wasn't well received. While Manson was away, the girls were discussing how to get Bobby Beausoleil out of jail for the Gary Hinman murder. Now, there were two ideas. Basically, get an attorney. Manson wasn't fond of attorneys because the money, and they were, he didn't like attorneys, as we'll see in a future episode. And Susan Atkins once saw a movie where they did a copycat killing, and it showed that the person in jail for the murder couldn't possibly be that person because the murders were very similar. And this was a harebrained idea, but that was her idea. And Manson maybe had picked up on it. So, but we don't know. Again, motive is a. Right now, we're just going to examine the facts in this episode. And so Manson, at this point, gives Mary Bruner and Sandra Good the stolen credit cards, and they go to a Sears and they go shopping. And of course, they're caught with the stolen credit cards and they are arrested. That's a whole story in itself, but I don't want to go into it, waste too much time. So, um, at the communal dinner, Manson says, now is the time for Helter Skelter. That's not good. Okay. um, then Manson summons Text Watson. Text, remember, we changed his name for the 2000s. Text Watson to speak in private. And Manson, in private, goes to him, Tex, I want you to go to that house that Terry Melcher used to live in and destroy everyone in the house. Uh, Manson told him he owed him for the Bernard Crow. He saved him for that. Make it a nice murder, totally gruesome, and get all the money. And Manson wanted, at some point, he found out about the arrest, and they would need $600 to bail Mary Bruner, who's probably one of he was the mother of the child of his child. So, and Sandra Good. So wanted $600 basically, and he said, if you couldn't get it at the first house, keep on getting it at other houses near there. So, once the 10,050 Cielo Drive was hit, and they didn't get enough money, they were supposed to go to other houses, actually. So, okay. And Manson gave exact instructions. Amazing how he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He gave bolt cutters, and those are for the telephone lines. The rope, I'm not sure. Maybe to tie people up. He gave three knives, maybe four. I don't know. I guess Tex got a knife too. So everyone got a buck knife. I'm not sure what a buck knife is, but can we get a picture of that? And he gave the 22 caliber bunt line he shot Bernard Crow with. So he gave that, and everyone was to have a change of clothing. And he wanted them to write things on the wall in blood, similar to the Hinman murder. Uh, if you recall, during the Hinman murder, they wrote "political piggy." Um, so again, the idea was that it couldn't have been possibly Bobby Beausoleil because he's in jail, and now it's another murder just like it. So the thrill kill party was Linda Kasabian, Susan Atkins, and Patricia Krenwinkel and Tex Watson. And they got out in 1959 Ford. And what's weird is that a lot of people say that the first person that got killed was Stephen Parent. They say he's in the wrong person, wrong place at the wrong time. I think everyone's in the wrong place at the wrong time, to tell you the truth. Um, so 10 p.m. they leave, and Manson goes before they leave. Manson stops them at the end of the driveway because leave something witchy. So the thrill kill cult is off, and so they go to the house. They get there about midnight, actually. Take a wrong turn, actually. So it's interesting. The murders probably would have happened sooner. Probably they're like a half hour delayed. So I won't talk too much about the murders, but talk about some of the salient points. What happened was the first thing they did was text Watson. He cut the phone lines. Okay, so he cut the phone lines. This is about 12, a little after 12, I gather, on August 9th. And then they didn't want to, they thought there might be an alarm on the gate. So they climbed an embankment over some barbed wire, and they threw their clothing over. And they remember they had two sets, right? They had, after they were done, they were going to, throw out the other clothing. And first thing Tex goes, Go back." He says, "Oh, the three girls, go back." So he sees a car approaching, and he goes to the car, halt. And it was a kid in the car. It was like 17, 18 years old. He goes, I won't say anything. I'm your friend. I won't say anything. And Tex takes out the gun and shoots the kid four times, dead. Slashes him too. So Stephen Parent became the first victim of the Manson family spree killing. Now, we're going to talk some alternative theories later. Another theory that says that the murders happen in a different way. And there's all kinds of stuff, conspiracies, and so we'll get to that later. But I just wanted to start out to give a base uh, of the what happened, and then any details that some other alternatives. But some people say that Stephen Parent might have been killed last. Interestingly enough, so it was amazing. No one heard anything, at the in the house. So I mean, text goes. So they after the shooting, a text goes into the house. He cuts to the screen. Again, debate. He one point said he walked right in the door, and again, we'll discuss that, later on in a later in the episode. And it's guys draped around American flag, Wojciech Frykowski. Um, talk a little bit later, later episode about an investigation. Who these people are that they so callously murdered. Um, he goes, "What time is it?" And he goes, "Who are you?" And Tex kicks him. And he goes, "Another word, you're dead." He goes, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business." And so Tex has the gun on him, and he goes to Susan Atkins to go and see if anyone else is in the house. And Atkins goes, and she actually passes one of the bedrooms, a Abigail Folger. And again, we'll talk more about who was killed in this episode. But right now, we're just going to leave the bare facts. And it's funny that Abigail Folger actually waved to her like she knew her. So then she passed her bedroom, and then she went to another room. She saw a man and a woman, very pregnant Sharon Tate, the movie actress, and Jay Sebring, her ex-boyfriend. Sebring was on the bed, the tip of the bed, talking with her. So Atkins comes back, and she reports and they gather all three in the living room. And the first big problem I gathered that happened was Sebring didn't like the way Watson was handling Sharon Tate, and and they try to tie up, Abigail Folger and Wojtek Frykowski, and Sharon Tate was being handled a little rough by Text Watson, and so what happened was Steve Sleeping tried to defend her, and she was shot once, and he just fell, collapsed, and he probably died right then. And then he started getting stabbed, and of course, women are getting hysterical. And then Watson goes to Susan Atkins, kill him. So she tries to stab Wojtek Frykowski, and that's a pretty big guy, Wojtek Frykowski. So she's stabbing him. She stabs in the leg, but and they're wrestling on the ground. And Tex Watson's going to shoot, but he don't want to shoot Susan Atkins. So all this is happening, and finally Abigail Folger, in the chaos, she starts running out the door, out the house, with Patricia Krenwinkel chasing her with a knife, and it's a horrible bloody scene when she stabs her. Who knows how many times? Like 28 times, I think, something crazy like that. So she eventually says, she says, "You have me, I'm dead." I mean, she actually says, "I'm dead, take me." And so Wojtek, the struggle is he's stabbed a couple times, but he's able to get out. And but Tex Watson shoots him a couple of times, and then he bangs him over the head, like breaks the gun grip, and then he gets out. And if I got the light on, and he eventually succumbs to his injuries. He's shot, stabbed 51 times. I think something crazy. The overkill was insane. And the only person left at one point is Sharon Tate, and and so she said, "Please, please, just let me have my baby. Please, just let me have my baby. Then you could kill me." And the famous Susan Acker words were, "I don't care for you, bitch. I have no mercy for you. You're gonna die. You better get ready for it." And so there's a lot of conjecture who really killed Sharon Tate. Turns out it was probably Tex Watson. He probably did the stabbing, although originally Susan Atkins claimed she did it. Okay, um, so when they got back, so okay, well, but actually, there's a couple of interesting things. Okay, so so before they leave, so it's two bodies on the front lawn. There's two in the house. Susan Atkins takes a towel and writes "pig" on the front door. Um, then they get in the car, and Linda Kasabian. I forgot to mention what she was doing all this time. She was basically outside, and she was just going crazy. Please make it stop. Please make it stop. And Susan Atkins said, "It's too late." So they get in the car, and they want to wash themselves off with still blood all over them. So into they go into a house as a hose. So they go and they start washing them, and all of a sudden the light turns on. The guy comes out. A guy named Rudolph Weber. It's funny, I forgot his name. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And they go, "Oh, nothing, nothing." And they, "We're just trying to get a drink of water." And so, of course, he starts chasing after him, and they run into the car, and Tex Watson starts the car, and the guy grabs. I suppose he was some kind of police guy, but so. uh, and Tex just starts the car and they get away before he could grab the keys. So that was an interesting. And Linda Kasabian takes all the clothes and they dumps them over a ravine. And they take the gun and they toss the gun over all these hills. You're driving in LA. I don't know if you ever seen that. There's a bunch of hills and just everything's on the side of the road. It's a big hill. You just go down the hill. So they throw that down the hill. So they get home. Lovely, lovely night, and they only get. By the way, they only get $70. I think Abigail Folger gave Susan Atkins $70, which is not back in 1969 wasn't that bad, but $600 or something. But back then they needed 600. It's 1969 money. And Manson says, "Why are you home so soon?" They got home at 2 a.m. and they're all like shaking and murdering someone. I mean, not to say, I mean, this is a horrible thing, but I'm sure even the most psychopathic person gonna be shaken up a little bit. So Manson gets a description of what happened from Watson, and tells him too much fear. When you do the killings, you need the victims to believe they're going to be okay. It's just a robbery. It's just a robbery. Manson's always changes his tune. Now in the morning, what happens? Interesting enough, so you figure there's two bodies on the front lawn. There's eventually someone's going to discover this. Of course, they did. So Winifred Chapman is the maid to. So she gets in, and for some reason she doesn't notice the car is awkwardly parked with a dead Stephen Parent in the car, and she goes through the back way. There's a key on top of one of the door frames, so she goes in and she's looking around, and all of a sudden she sees blood, and she goes, "Oh my!" And she panics, and she runs out of the house. Blood, blood, murder! She runs to the next door, and so I think the first house there was no one home, and then the house next door to it, finally, a person came to the door like a 15-year-old, and they called the cops, and everything. Just celebrity murder and five bodies. Um, so so there was a sense of panic around Hollywood, and it's later determined that one of the deaths was Sharon Tate, and we'll talk about the lives of these poor people was dragged in the mud. They were victims, and they were like they caused their own deaths. It's what the press said, had them had a field day on them. So August 9th happens, and the family is almost gleeful about the murders, and so they say Manson has set his sights on another night of murders, and he adds two more people to his thrill killers, Steve Glenn Grogan and Leslie Van Houten. He hopes to commit two set of murders, two hit teams. Okay, um, but he does a weird thing. So he drives around to Pasadena, which I think is like a little east of Los Angeles, and he sees a house and he gets out. He goes, "I'll be right back." So he goes to the house and he looks in the window and he sees pictures of children. And he comes back to the car and says, "I can't kill in there children, but one day you might have to kill children." Um, so they go back to Los Angeles, as is west, and so he sees a church. So he gets out and he's ready to kill. He says, "I'm going to kill a clergyman, whoever." I don't know the church word. The guy that the rector, or I don't know how that works. So he's gonna kill the person that runs the church. Usually like a clergyman or something. And so, um, but he tries to open the door, so the place is locked. So that can't. That's no good. So, so he's over for two. Now this is the most brave thing. They get to a red light. He's a sports car. He has a gun. I don't know. He gets another gun. They threw out the Alaska, the bunt line. So he gets out and he goes, "I'm going to shoot this person right now." So he gets out, sports car, ready to shoot him. And as soon as he gets up, light turns green. The sports car takes off. Wow, the person. They never located that person, so But people have said this did happen. People it was a sports car, and Charlie got out with a gun, and so so finally, Charlie goes, "I know where to go." So he directs Linda Kasabian. Now they used to go to the guy named Harold True, which the family used to go crash out sometimes, and but instead, so Linda Kasabian pulled up, and she knew of Harold True too. She goes, "You're gonna Harold True no longer rented the property, but next to Harold True was a house, and man, now there's conflicting data on was it Manson himself that went up?" Um, okay, so the property was 3301 Waverly Drive, and right next to Harold True, who was a friend of Manson. Again, they used to crash out, have dope parties, sex parties, and now there's a little discrepancy. Was Manson did he go by himself or did he go with Tex Watson? Some people said he went with Watson. Some people said by himself. So he goes in and he finds an unlocked door lying on. It's 2 in the morning on August 10th, by the way. And he finds a middle-aged, heavy-set guy, and he points a gun at him, and he ties his hands behind his back, and he says, "Is anyone else in the house?" And the guy says, he should have said no, but he says, "Yeah, my wife." Okay. And somehow he gets the wife to come down and he ties him back to back, I guess. I don't know. I'm tying people up. I'm just not good at it. I'm not sure how people tie people up. I guess it's a Boy Scout thing. It's the first thing they teach you is how to tie people up. So, so after he ties him up, he goes down and summons Tex Watson, especially if they're a night of murders, you want to do a little more. Uh, Patricia Krenwinkel after Night of Murders, and two murderer Leslie Van Houten. And it was again, Manson says, they're not in fear. Have them nice and calm. I'm only gonna rob you. I'm not gonna hurt you. Just gonna rob you. Uh, and they go in and it's horrific, murder. And they go through it. I mean, if you want to read the account, I mean, um, and this time they wrote much more in blood on the wall. They wrote "Rise," "Helter Skelter" misspelled, "Hilter Skelter," "Death to Pigs." War was carved on a Lino LaBianca stomach. Um, the killers stayed and had chocolate milk and watermelon and took showers. Okay, so this is a horrendous murder too. I mean, it was just awful. And so again, why did they do this? This is even more confounding than the first murder. At least the first murder, we have a connection, sort of. We have the Terry Melcher's old residence, right? Um, so Manson drives a second hit team to Venice, and I mentioned in the part 6 a guy named Saladin Nader, Lebanese actor, and Manson, and he drops off the the second heat team is Clem Grogan, Steve Clem Grogan, Susan Atkins, who was for the other murder, and um, Linda Kasabian. She was supposed to kill Saladin Nader. Um, so what Linda did, supposedly, the heroine, and as we'll find out, the late Linda Kasabian is hated in the Manson community. Okay, she's not well liked. She wasn't well liked. She supposedly rang the wrong bell. She got in the building. She rang the wrong bell, but not because the other person, Sandra Good, was arrested. So so she rang the wrong doorbell, and the person said, "Hi, oh, wrong doorbell." So they aborted the mission. And for as a footnote, Susan Atkins took a deuce in the stairway. I guess she had irritable bowel syndrome or something. so, so both set of thrill killers hitched the ride home, and so next murder. So that's seven murders in 2 days. And when this happened, things went crazy in the news. The fear, people, gun shops or lines. There was people buying guard dogs, selling up to $1,000 each. In fact, $1,000 back then was like almost not $10,000. Who knows? And it was a crazy time, and so at this point, it was, so Manson's idea was Helter Skelter. That this, but this was always, debated. I mean, what he was telling his followers and what he was why he was, you know, was probably not the reason. I mean, he probably knew that there was no Helter Skelter. There was going to be a race war. That writing blood on the wall. So there is, that's what makes such an intriguing case. Why did he order his minions to commit this murder? And we will definitely cycle back to that. So we want to keep the base, the facts first, and then we will come back and examine motives and other details as time goes on. So the next part will the aftermath, which will be August 11th, probably to October 12th, when they finally capture Manson and his thrill kill cult in the desert, but not for the murders, actually. The cops are a little inept. Well, yeah, hopefully, no one in the LA police will get shot. All right, so thank you for today. By the way, is October 22nd, and I am the king of all mediums. And thank you, and see you real soon.